Right now at Kohl's, buy more, save more. Take an extra 15% off. Spend $100 or more and take an extra 20% off. Go to Kohl's.com to download your savings pass. Then stock up with 40 to 50% off sweaters and fleece for the family, 40 to 50% off Carter's Fall playwear, and 50 to 60% off pillows, blankets, and throws. Plus, everyone gets $10 Kohl's cash for every $50 spent. Right now at Kohl's. Select styles, some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Blog Talk Radio.
Howdy, race fans. How the hell are you? Steve Billmeyer here, bringing y'all another episode of the highly rated radio podcast show, Racing with Big Sweat. Glad y'all tuned in tonight. We've got a real good show planned for you tonight. Got three excellent drivers going to tell us about their year and how they've done and everything, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. Let me see who's here with me, since I can't see across the studio. My good friend and my producer, CJ Sports, I believe is here. You here, CJ? Well, on the other hand, maybe he isn't. And I don't see where Chris Yellow Caution Flag Creighton is, so...
I'm here, Steve. I had to wait for my studio to refresh itself so I could actually plug myself into the show. I'm here. Chris ain't here yet, but I am definitely here.
Yeah, I just got a message from Chris. He's not going to make it tonight, so it's just going to be me and you.
Okay. How you doing tonight, Steve?
I'm doing good. It's going to be me and you and Lord Calvert tonight. It ought to be a good show.
There we go.
How you been, bud?
Oh, I've been great. I spent last weekend in Gatlinburg, got to see my mom, and spend the weekend with Shorty and my son, and then Monday night got to spend the Monday evening. Shorty and we met up with Kayla Lyons from Kayla Lyons Racing. She's been a guest on the show over at the 110 Nation Sports Show a couple of times. We went out to the Chip Ganassi grounds and hung out with the drivers in Chip Ganassi and their event. And then Saturday night I'm going out to the Bank of America 500 to do media out there. So it's a great week.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds like you got a lot of racing going on this week.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's always a show at Charlotte, so I know you'll enjoy it.
Oh, yes. I love going out there. I mean, it's really convenient. It's only about an hour and 15 hour and a half up the road, but I enjoy myself out there every time, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I always enjoyed it there, too. The only part I didn't enjoy was trying to get home after the race. You know that mobile home park that's right across the highway from the racetrack? Yeah. I lived there when I worked with Hendrick Motorsports. Man, it would take a half hour and a box of hats to get across that highway. You didn't even try to go out. You could just give hats out to the highway patrolman and they'd get you across.
I tell you what, the last couple times that I have gone, it hasn't really been that bad. I thought it was going to be a lot worse traffic-wise and just getting back to the car, but it hasn't been that bad. I'm hoping I didn't pay attention to my credentials. I'm hoping that I got media credentials where I get to park in the infield, which would make life a lot easier. I got to look to see what they actually gave me, but last couple of times first time I was kind of confused, but the last couple of times I wasn't really that bad.
I tell you, it used to be the biggest party during the week of the 600 was pole night. And they really throw a party up in the grandstands and in the infield on that night. And then on Sundays, they'd have the bus set up with the breathalyzer in it, and then they'd have another shuttle bus to carry people to jail in Concord. And that one bus stayed busy all day long. But those were the old days. I imagine nobody drinks like that now. I imagine they're all well behaved, everything.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've heard that in Dale Jr.'s places, you can't even get in there at night. The fire marshals are standing outside, not letting people in. It'll get so crowded.
Oh, goodness. I don't know. It's crazy. The whole Charlotte thing to me is crazy because I've gone many years. Actually, the first time I went was 2001, and it's right up the road for me. And SMI owns all these different tracks. They own Bristol, they own Atlanta, they own Kentucky, they own Texas, they own Las Vegas, they own I want to say New Hampshire or whatever. Yep. And for the first 2 years, they would approve me for every other track, but the one right in my backyard I could never get approved for. And last year, a partner company that I had, they set up for me to get in because they set up an interview with me and David Reagan and R.J. Mitty, and I got to write for NASCAR. And I'm assuming that's what got me in this year. Was the fact that my name in the 110 Nation was in the records of being in there last year. But you know how aggravating that was for the first couple of years to get approved to every other track across the United States, but to get approved in the one in my own backyard was like next to impossible. So I just glad that it finally worked out in my favor.
That's the way it was when I was cup racing. I mean, people come up and want tickets to the races all the time. And it was easier to get tickets to Daytona than it was to Charlotte. Charlotte was just an absolute nightmare to get any tickets from. And, of course, that's the one everybody wanted to go to because it was in their hometown. But,
yeah,
I don't know. It's always been that way. It's just real hard to get passes, and it's real restrictive there in Charlotte. But it's always a good show, so it kind of balances out.
Yeah, we got next month. We got the World of Outlaws. Looking forward to me and you hanging out and doing that. And they've already got where I can apply for Atlanta next year, so I'm going to work on that as well. But one more thing before we get our guest, because he just called in. What was the odds of it playing out that Kevin Harvick wins the race and Kyle Busch gets second place so both of them can make it into the next round? I would have loved to know what the odds were in Vegas for that scenario to play out the way it had to play out for both of those guys on the outside looking in to make it into the next round.
I tell you, the racing gods were smiling on them last Sunday. I would have never thought both of them would have got in.
Yeah. I mean, we both knew that they were talented enough to get in. It just was, could it all play out the way it had to go down in order for both of them to get in? That was so, we was coming back from Gatlinburg, and we turned on the race, and we caught bits and pieces of it, but we more so caught the last 50 laps. And, throughout the day, we were updating on our phones, seeing where everybody stood. And every time that I looked at it or heard an update on the radio, I just had this big smile on my face. I'm like, could NASCAR be handed a early Christmas present to make sure that these two guys advance, two guys I feel that are a critical piece to make sure that we get the same excitement in the chase that we got last year? And sure enough, it played out. The weather played perfectly. Everything just worked in NASCAR's favor, and they couldn't ask for a better result.
Yeah, they kind of had to do something since Jimmy Johnson wasn't going to make it, so they had to get somebody in to stir things up. The thing that amused was Monday morning, all of the couch crew chiefs were hollering that Kevin Harvick was trying to blow his car up and everything, doing a burnout, so NASCAR couldn't check his motor and all that, and just accusing him of using the burnout to hide stuff he had done. And I'm like, guys, I said, even if you throw a piston through the side of the block or down through the oil pan, I said, it's an 8-cylinder motor. I said, it's not going to wipe out all 8 of them. I said, they'll find one they can check.
Yep.
And there's nothing you can really break on a burnout that's going to get you through post-race inspection.
And even on top of that, NASCAR's most popular driver had to finish where he had to finish to get to the next round. to advance over Jamie Mack. I think there was a handful of drivers that were within 2 points. So I mean, for NASCAR to keep, I don't think Jimmy Johnson was a big deal. I think it was a shock that we didn't have a 6-time champion in, but the way Hendrick Motorsports had been at the end of the season, I don't think that was really a shock. But I don't know if NASCAR could have suffered not having Kevin Harvick, not having Kyle Busch, and potentially not having Dale Jr. With that whole scenario playing out. That was NASCAR was definitely blessed this weekend with the opportunity, at least those three advancing on. But we got our first guest in the studio, and I know he didn't tune in to listen to us talk about NASCAR and the NASCAR gods and everything else. So let's go ahead and get your first guest on the show tonight.
Yep, let's do it. His first gentleman, sprint car racer, and I want to talk about the championship he's won this year. He's a hard charger, and he's definitely a hot shoe. Let's bring on Jeremy Campbell. Jeremy, how you doing tonight, bud?
Oh, not bad. Not bad. Just sitting out here in the shop.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it is, huh? If you're not inside the house, you're out of the shop.
Yeah. Well, I got a 2.5-year-old, and he's running around crazy, so it's a little peaceful out here right now.
Is he in the terrible twos yet?
Oh, yeah. We got him like this little Gator car, too, and he drives that thing around crazy if he's out here. So.
Yeah, you better get your wins while you can, because he's going to be in your car pretty soon.
Oh, yeah. He watches me every day, so.
Well, congratulations on your year this year. Tell everybody exactly what championship you won and what tracks you had raced at and everything.
Right now, I race over here in Wichita, Kansas at 81 Speedway. I'm from Wichita right now, too. Originally from Monroe, Michigan. But we won the local championship out here at the track. And this Saturday, there's a NCRA tour that I run around here. It's kind of like a local Kansas, Nebraska tour. And I'm 40 points out from winning that, too. So it's doable, but it's a long shot. So I just got to beat the guy by 8 spots.
Well, keep your chin up and keep working at it. You'll get it. You travel around quite a bit, running sprint car shows around through the Midwest?
Well, not so much anymore. We travel around the Kansas area and Nebraska area, sometimes down in Oklahoma. You know, we go out to like I-80 and McCool Junction, and then go to Dodge City and Hutchinson and Salina and Belleville, like those tracks around this area. But I used to travel a lot, and I ran the Outlaws for 2 years, ran the All-Stars for 2 years back in the day, and just now I just kind of settled down a little bit and kind of living life and bought a house and have a kid now, so.
Yeah, definitely enjoying that 2-year-old, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you ever go to Beatrice Speedway?
I have not been to that one yet.
We have one of the drivers I keep in touch with. She runs there a lot, and it kind of cracks me up. Out there, it's Beatrice, and here in the South, it's just Beatrice. It took me a little while to figure out what she was saying, but she has a hard time with what I'm saying, too, so it all balances out.
Right.
How long have you been racing, Jeremy?
I've been racing sprint cars for about 15 years now. Started in 2000 in a 360 up in Michigan. That's where I'm originally from, is Michigan. Raced sprints on dirt there and got the Rookie of the Year, and then got the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame 360 Rookie of the Year that year, too. And then in 2001 and 2002, ran the Gum Out Series for 2 years when that was still going on. Yep. And then 2003 kind of ran wherever, All-Stars, Outlaws, just kind of got in the feel of traveling around. And then 2004 and 2005 completed the full All-Star tour for 2 years. And then 2006 and 2007 ran the whole Outlaw year tour for those 2 years. And then, 2007 kind of broke us when the economy dropped and sponsorships dropped. My dad's business dropped, so we kind of had to get out and sell out of everything. But then in 2008, kind of drove for a few cars, drove for Ferkel for a little while, ran the All-Star Tour. And then 2009 took a break, and then 2010 we moved out to Kansas. And then started racing locally around here, and then run the NCRA Tour around here. So I kind of got a career for being how young I am. So
I hear you. What got you into racing? What got you interested in it?
Oh, back when I was 11, back in Michigan, I was at a baseball tournament with my dad because he's all into that softball deal. And at the tournament, they were racing go-karts in the parking lot next door. And I was like, well, so we'll just go over there and check it out. And noticed my cousin was racing. It was his first year doing go-karts, and then watched him and hung out with him all night. And my dad finally found me over there. And he's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, just helping out, watching my cousin, helping him out. And then going home that night, he asked me if I wanted to drive a go-kart, and I was like, sure. So we tried it out, and sure enough, I guess I had a little talent, is what people seen in me, and my dad just kind of went 100% with it. So, and that just kind of got me started racing go-karts for a few years, then went to shifter karts for a few years, got used to the speed, and then moved up to a mini sprint to try to get used to suspension, and then ended up in a 360. So,
I heard those carts will just flat out fly.
The shifter carts? Oh, yeah. Those things will go like 140 mile an hour, like an inch off the ground with no suspension.
I heard they'll just pin you in the seat when they take off.
Oh yeah. I miss running those. I'd still like to run one of those sometime. Those things are fun, the shifter carts. You learn a lot. You learn to get used to the speed and like the power sliding and everything. So I think it helped me out a lot.
I've seen quite a few of the guys post in my racing group, NASCAR and other racing, that they'll take a break from driving sprint cars or dirt modifieds or whatever they're racing and go race shifter carts. And it's like they jump on the opportunity to race them. And I thought, I said, I didn't know anything about them. I said, but this must be a pretty good class to run. I said, there's a lot of people like to run this class. And then I found out, well, it's kind of like Wile E. Coyote strapping on that rocket in the old Roadrunner cartoons. I said, you'll flat out get it on that.
They say they have the same weight to horsepower ratio as almost an F1, really.
Yeah.
In like little go-kart. Yeah. But, yeah. But it's a high endurance, because it don't wear you out because there's no power steering or anything. You're always shifting, so you're really driving with one arm. And just going around those corners, pulling so many Gs, it's a blast.
And I imagine you get on a rough track with no suspension under that go-kart and battle the fillings out of your teeth. There were some street races I went to. One down in Lafayette, Indiana. It was like through the streets of downtown, and you had to watch out for the manholes and the dips and everything. And a couple times you got some air over some rough area. So your dad kind of backed you getting started and everything, but he wasn't the racing type. He was more of a softball.
I would say I was actually the first one in my family to really start racing besides my cousin, really. And and I just went all for it, and he went all for it too. And I guess people seen that I had a talent, and then my dad just kept pushing me and kept moving me up. Never really stayed in a class long enough to win championships, and win a lot of races. But I kept moving up so quick that I kept learning. I kept getting beat, and every time I kept getting beat, I was learning. And I think it advanced me a lot quicker.
Yeah, doing it that way will kind of speed the process up of you learning. You get where you can run, up front with the guys in your class, and then it's like, well, the only thing I got left to do is grab a few trophies, and you just go ahead and move on up and just keep moving up.
Yeah.
But it sounds pretty cool. You ran the outlaw circuit for a while. What's that like? What's it like getting out there with all those named drivers and everything? And I'm sure the competition is just tough.
Oh yeah, the competition's unreal, and it's pretty much you race nonstop from February to November, literally like nonstop. You race Friday, Saturday, then you race like a Tuesday somewhere like 500 miles down the road. Then you race like a Thursday, Friday somewhere, and then you're racing another Monday, Tuesday, and you race during the week, weekends, all over the place. We pretty much lived from Walmart to Walmart, really, on the road. Because they had a nice paved parking lots where you can maintenance the car, and if you ever need anything, you just go in there and buy it.
Yeah, I've been there and done that. Have to rebuild the car out in the motel parking lot.
Yeah, we had a toter home set up with a big long stacker trailer and everything, so we pretty much just lived out of the toter home and car washes at like 3 in the morning and keep driving to the next Walmart to where we can maintenance it and go to the next racetrack.
That's what everybody does. You know, they found out Walmart doesn't charge you to park there overnight, and all of a sudden it's like, heck with a campground. I can just go to Walmart and get everything I need and stay in my home.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because we were a low budget team. You know, we didn't really have like the 10 motors and the 5 or 6 race cars on hand. You know, we only had the 3 cars that would fit in the trailer, plus maybe 3 motors in rotation, and you know, we held our own. There's a couple of races I actually about won. Come down the last lap, you know, or last 5 laps and got past. But you know, like considered like there was one race that stuck out was it was beginning of 2006, I think, out in Vegas. No, actually 2007, out in Vegas when we were running out there and leading the whole race. Car Donnie Schatz was on my ass, I guess, and I passed the lap car on the bottom side, and it kind of threw me a little bit of rubber racing too. Kind of threw me up in the corner at 3 and 4, and then here comes Schatz barreling right up underneath me. I'm like, damn it, you know, and that you know, just losing to him like beginning of the outlaw deals is, you know, that's almost a win for me, you know, finishing second to him.
Definitely. Oh, Donnie Schatz isn't exactly your Saturday night shoe. I mean, he's pretty known, and he's won a few trophies. So he's definitely a shoe. What are your plans for the future? Are you happy with where you're running now, or do you want to move up into something stronger?
Yeah, kind of like I'm all right here. Like I've been out here for 5 years now, racing local 81 Speedway and that NCRA deal. When I first moved out here, I won both championships, the 81 Speedway and the NCRA that same year, and then won 4 more championships here at the local track, and then we co-championed last year for the NCRA, so kind of got 2 championships there too. But you know, I like right now. I moved out here. We bought a house. We actually just bought a new house a little bit outside of Wichita. Had 5 acres now with a bigger shop, and we're just I'm kind of living life. You know, I got a real job now, and just trying to support the racing deal with the real job, and trying to hustle a little bit of sponsors. But we're hearing some talks of a new tour running around here in the Midwest, that NSL tour. They had a really good tour with the 410s this year running through the Midwest, and now they're thinking about, or they're putting together a 360 NSL tour around the Midwest here, and we might be looking into doing that. So we just got to see what schedules are and see what their pays are and kind of feel it out and see what we can do.
What brought you down from Michigan down to Kansas? What region did you move?
I think my wife lives out here, or is from here, and I met her at Knoxville Nationals 2003. She was one of the trophy queens, and I met her there, and we kind of just kind of hit it off from there. And each year we just kept going back, and then she went on the road traveling with me, and we started dating, and then finally got married and moved out to Kansas.
Well, I'm impressed. Anytime you can get a trophy queen and marry her, that's as strong as outrunning Donnie Schatz.
Right. I think her father is a real well-known guy around here. He raced sprint cars his whole life, or race cars his whole life. So she's actually been around racing longer than I have. So I married into a good one, I guess. She understands the racing deal.
Yeah, that kind of works out good when your wife understands everything and she's behind you 100%. You got her, and you know, your dad pushing you and everything. That's good. That's good to get family involved in it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and like back in 2003 to end of 2005, like I had a crew chief at the time that lived out here in Wichita too. So we actually moved shop for about 3 years to Wichita because it's kind of central United States when they're, you know, traveling back and forth, and that kind of got us together too. I was always in her hometown, and we got to hanging out and everything. And then she moved back to Michigan with me in 2006, and that's when we went to the Outlaw deal. And then from there, the story went on. So,
has it always been wing sprint cars, or have you run non-wing races? Have you ever run anything fenders on it?
Yeah, 2006. We took the wing off a couple times. I had Rob Hart crew chiefing for me at the time. We were living out in Indianapolis, and he told me, he's like, let's try to run non-wing or something. So we went to Bloomington. First time ever in a non-wing car. Was running third to Dickie Gaines and Steinbro. We were 1 and 2, and I was running third, and I was getting ready. It was about 5 laps to go, and they're all running the bottom. So I was like, well, shoot. And on this one caution, I started moving up to the top, and it started almost passing them, and then another caution came out, and then I showed them the line. I was like, dang it. So then I just kind of fell back in third for the last 5 laps. But for the first time ever in a non-wing car finishing against those two guys, I was like, wow. I was impressed with myself, really.
Yeah, definitely so. How much difference can you tell between a wing sprint car and a non-wing car, and which do you really prefer?
You know, there's actually a lot of difference. You know, it's totally two different driving styles. The wing car, you know, you're more pinned on the left rear tire and just driving straight. You know, straighter cars, you know, a faster car usually. But a non-wing car, you're driving up on that right front, right rear, and totally crossed up sideways. We've raced a couple. They have a couple non-wing shows out here at 81 that I've been in with, and finished decent here. Didn't win one yet, but finished top 5 both times. But I don't know. I think non-wing car is more driver. You know, it's more about pedaling the car, using the footwork, you know, and actually controlling that slide that you don't think it will ever stop. You know.
I heard that. And I guess with the wing, you got so much downforce that it really plants the car.
Yeah, I've just been doing wing stuff for so long that it's a natural to me now. But you know, I like to dip into the non-wing stuff. You know, whenever I can get a chance. You know, it's just something different to drive. You know, I like just trying new things and trying different stuff. So.
I hate to get off the subject, but I was sitting here looking at your page, and I'm looking at your son, and he's got the Jason Leffler faux hawk going.
Oh, yeah.
He looks pretty cool.
We kind of style him up a little bit here and there. So. Yeah. But he's all about it too. You know, he's always in victory lane with me, watched me, and always he's real photogenic now. He figured out all the photography deal, and he's likes to pose for everything now.
He'll be like Dad. He'll be 6 years old and dating a trophy queen then.
Right.
Oh man, that's a cute boy. I got to tell you.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, and I'm trying to raise him right. I keep him out in the car. He's always trying to help me with the race car, and I always find wrenches in the axle tubes. So every time before I load it up, I got to check the axles, make sure there's nothing in them. Always stuff the Zeus buttons in Nerf bar holes.
I got a guy that I'm friends with that's been on the show, T.J. Hughes, who runs a dirt late model out there, and he's got 3 little girls and then a son that's really an infant, and he's the same way. All the girls want to come out and help him at the shop, and then when he gets ready to load up, he's got to check the whole car over and find all the wrenches and they've left in it.
Yeah.
So I guess when you're family racing, that's just the way it is with your kids.
Oh yeah.
Sprint cars, go-karts has been mostly what you've run. Have you ever run anything with any fenders on it?
No. Well, I tried to Arcadil one time. I tried to rent out an Arcadil over at Toledo Speedway, and I ran hot laps. I ran the day of the hot lap deal, and we weren't bad. You know, I was a little rusty just because I didn't know the limit of the car. I didn't know how far I could push it before, you know, it'd get loose or, you know, stuff it in the wall. You know, I just didn't want to tear anything up because if I tore it up, you know, we were still a low budget team. I'd have to pay for it, you know. And I was all right. And then qualifying, they got halfway through qualifying. I did qualify, and it looked like I was going to make the show, but it rained out, or it started raining halfway through qualifying. So they rained the qualifying out and lined it up by points. And the guy that I rented it from wasn't up in the points enough to do it. So he let me take some laps around the practice day at MIS up in Michigan.
Oh,
and
wow.
that was pretty fun.
Yeah, I bet it was.
I'll say that backstretch is a long backstretch.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
Caught myself looking around, and I'm like, geez. I was like, where's the turn at, because I'm used to, all the short tracks. So, but it was a good experience, It's something I liked. It was fun to do.
Yeah, well, it's always good to stretch yourself out, try something totally different, just, if nothing else, just to tell yourself to see if you can do it, and then when you do it, say, well, I conquered that.
Right. Yeah, we got pretty good friends with some modified teams around here. I've been trying to talk them guys in, and they let me drive the car one time. But they got another show here at the end of the year that if I talk to this one guy, I guess good enough, he might let me drive it. So maybe see myself in a modified, just something different, It's like
dirt modifieds
around
or
here. Do what?
Is dirt modifieds or asphalt modifieds?
Yeah, just dirt modifieds. It's a big thing around this area, the Midwest, is dirt modifieds.
Oh, yeah. It really is.
There's not really much asphalt stuff around here in Kansas and Oklahoma and stuff, but
I've noticed that there's I live in the South in North Carolina, and it's like a whole nother world between the racing we do here and the racing y'all do out there. Yours is mostly dirt, and ours is pretty much all asphalt here.
Yeah.
And NASCAR doesn't sell out there like it does here. People out that way are a lot more interested in World Outlaws and UMP and IMCA modifieds and stuff like that. So it's almost like two different worlds, but I want to get out there and experience that. Get out there in Kansas and Nebraska and stuff. I've made some friends through the group and through the radio show that they've been telling me, come on out. We'll get you a place to stay. Just come on out.
Yeah, there's some big shows out here too that are pretty exciting to watch or whatever. And if you ever come out this way, hit me up on Facebook or something. Let me know, and I can kind of lead you in the right directions of which shows you should hit up and actually watch. So.
Yeah, that's another cool thing about out there. Y'all run about 5 days a week.
You could really.
You'll barely find running 2 nights a week in the South is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
A lot of people run 1 race a week. I used to try to run every one we could.
Yeah.
But I've got a friend of mine, matter of fact, guy used to drive for me, named Lance Moss. He's one of the Pennsylvania Posse sprint car drivers now from up in the Northeast.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him last year, and he was going to Knoxville, and he had 6 motors in his hauler that he was taking out there to rent out, in addition to what he was going to use. So,
wow.
When you said that it takes quite a bit to run out there, it rang up in my mind, and you're right. It's a big expense to run. With the expense of it that it is, do you make enough with the wind to put some money in your pocket, or does it, barely cover the tire bill?
Yeah, like the way we're doing it right now, just kind of running locally here and like a actual local tour, kind of running, and me finishing top 5 pretty much every night. We're actually kind of breaking even, knock on wood. I haven't been tearing anything up or anything, and my father-in-law builds my motors. That's a really good help too. So we're actually kind of breaking even right now. So. Well,
that's good. As long as you're not losing, that'll keep you going the next week.
Right. That's kind of how it's been playing. So. Another thing I'd like to try out is we got that chili bowl down in Tulsa, with like 3.5 hours from my house, and been trying to talk to some people and they let me drive one of their cars out there, but everybody's wanting me to rent them. I'm like, no, I don't really want to go out there and rent it. I was like, I'll drive it for you and I'll pay my expenses, but like maybe put me in one because I like to try to drive a midget. Never drove a midget before, but it'd be fun to actually experience it, actually racing the Chili Bowl.
Yeah, that Chili Bowl is a pretty big deal from what I've seen and everything. That's one of those bucket list deals that I'd love to go to.
Yeah,
just
it's something to experience.
Spend the week out there.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a whole week long. It's something to really experience.
Well, good luck with that. I hope you get in it, and if you do, let me know. Keep me informed.
All right, yeah, for sure. Yep. So.
Well, while we got a couple of minutes, take some time to give some shout-outs to your sponsors or family or crew or your top dog, whoever.
Right, yeah, I say there's a couple sponsors, like Dan Cycle helps me out, Scott's Well Service helps me out on the car, Auto Masters, local auto shop here in town, Chad Flinter with Flinter Excavating, he helps me out a lot, you know. I don't know if my wife and kid are listening there, but, you know, they're probably in there hopefully listening, and I know probably mother-in-law is listening at home, so, but, yeah, it's about it, you know, just people that help me out throughout the year that, you know, keep me going, you know, all the people behind the scenes that keep my car together and, you know, keep working on it with me and everything, you know. So just like to thank everybody that helps me out and keeps me running.
Do you have people to come over and help you work on the car during the week, or are you pretty much a one-man?
Well, I moved about 4 months ago. I had a neighbor who was real good friends, always went to me before I moved. He was my neighbor in town, and he'd always come over every night. But now I moved outside of town, and it's hard to see him come out every so often. But a lot of times it's just me out here, you know, working on the stuff, you know. And I've been doing it so long that I have kind of special ways I like doing things, and I just know how I like it and how that if I do it, I know it's done right, and it just. Exactly. But you know, I'd always like to help. You know, if somebody wants to come out and learn, you know, I'll teach them everything about it and show them the way I do it and show them how things are done. So. Yeah,
that's the way I used to be. I pretty much was a one-man band. I did all the work during the week and everything, but I knew my cars from end to end and knew where everything was on them. And it kind of works out better that way. You get I think, a more in-depth knowledge of your car, and you know, you can recognize things quickly. You know, if something seems a little off, you'll pick it up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I say it's always better for a driver to understand how a car works and how it's actually put together, you know, than the driver that doesn't, you know, just goes out and drives it, you know.
Yep. Yeah, I've been in both of those situations. I crew chiefed the K&N East team one year, and the guy had a 19-year-old son was the driver, and his dad had more money than God, so money wasn't a problem. But you had to pretty much chase his son down to get him in the car just to weigh it out or anything. I mean, I don't know how, but he got the idea that all he had to do was show up, you know, 10 minutes before practice started, put his uniform on and do practice and run the race, and as soon as the race was over, he was gone. He didn't know anything about a car, never had any intention of learning anything about a car. And
I can't do that. Like I drove for a few people too around this area and, you know, circle and stuff, and I had to be hands on. I had to know exactly what kind of bars were in it, you know, how it's set up to where I know what the car's actually going to do on the racetrack, you know.
Yep. No surprises that way.
Yep. But,
and, you know, I'm the same way as you, you know. Like you said, you know, if you do it, you know it's done right. You don't have to check behind yourself, but you might have to check behind somebody that's helping you.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, Well, I guess how long does your season run out there?
We have one more race this weekend is our last race.
And that's it for the year?
Yeah, that's it for the year. It's over here. It's an NCRA tour at 81 Speedway here in Wichita. So, yeah, they usually pay about $2,000 to win. I'm trying to get if I can get as many cars here, more cars here, it's better chances of me winning a championship. I'm trying to promote it a little bit, trying to get some more cars to come down here. So hopefully we get a good car count, because I gotta finish 8 spots ahead of the guy that's leaving right now. So it's doable. I gotta win it really, and hopefully he finishes back there a little ways. And I can do that here at this track. So
I guess it's not like asphalt where you can just kind of put the bumper to him and move him over. I guess that
right.
Doesn't work too good in an open wheel car.
No, you don't want to be rubbing tires.
No. As a matter of fact, the guy I was telling you about that drove for me before, Lance Moss, that's driving sprint cars now. He was at a dirt track here in North Carolina. I think it was in Madison, North Carolina. And he jumped tires with another guy he was passing. And he flipped out over the track and down into the trees. And it cracked his helmet. He crashed so bad. And it took him a couple of years to get over that. It really messed his balance up and everything. He was fine, but he had trouble climbing stairs and stuff like that because his equilibrium was off. But
yeah, I took some pretty hard hits. 2001, first year I was running the Gummont Series. We were over in Pennsylvania at Williams Grove. And going in the turn, I made the show there. Going in the turn, Greg Hodnett was driving the Apple car, and he got together with some 11 car. I'm not sure he was driving an 11 car, but they got together right in front of me, turned them both plumb backwards, and I had nowhere to go. Drove right into Greg Hodnett. The front end dug into the ground and launched me straight up in the air and outside turn one.
Oh,
that was a wild ride.
I tell you, that was the one thing that always impressed me about sprint car drivers is, man, they have some hellacious wrecks, and they just get out and go unload the backup and get right back out there like it's nothing to it.
I say I actually got walked away from that one. Really, landed back on the tire, rolled a few times, landed on the tires, but I walked away from that one. So then there's another one at Sharon Speedway. Steering gear broke in hot laps and slammed it head on right into the turn one wall. That one hurt. Pretty much everything from the motor forward was gone. But still, I walked away from that one too. So.
Well, hopefully all that's behind you now. And
yeah. I knock on wood now. I guess I don't know if that's helped me or not, but I haven't really did too many hits out here yet. So.
How old are you, Jeremy?
I'm gonna be 32 end of the month.
Well, you're right there at your prime then.
Yeah.
It's a good time to be racing sprint cars, I'm sure. How long do you plan on keeping up?
Yeah, I'd like to get back on the road now, but, now I got a house. I got a decent, a well-paying job, and just kind of, I guess, living life. It'd be fun to get back on the road, but I'd have to have some kind of guaranteed income to do it, to where I can't lose everything I have now, I have it too good right now where I'm at, and, I'm kind of spoiled with a track within 20 minutes from the house, a decent track, I'd like to try to travel a little more. That's why I hope this NSL kind of takes off a little bit. I'd like to, travel out of state, maybe come up to, Iowa and, like South Dakota or something, go down to Oklahoma, Texas. If they got a well-paying tour going on, we might actually consider doing that.
Cool deal. You mentioned that you had a good job. What kind of work do you do?
I work for Conway Freight. I drive semi-trucks. pulling doubles and triples up and down the highway.
You drive for a living, you travel for a living, and then you want to travel on the weekends to go racing. That's kind of like a postman's holiday. You aren't home very much, are you?
Well, I actually got it pretty good with Conway. I'm home every night. We just do a P&D delivery, like through town, and we have a dock here in Wichita that we run out of, So I only work like 9 to 10 hours a day, and still home every night. So, and I don't have to work on the weekend, so that's a plus. So that's what I'm saying. I got too good of a job right now, and too good of a house and spread here in Kansas, where it's hard to walk away. If I got an offer to do something on the road, it has to be guaranteed income, and I just can't walk away from what I got going on right now. But if the opportunity ever did come up, it'd be fun to do it again, though.
Well, it's kind of like any kind of racing. It gets in your blood, and you get used to it, and then you don't want to leave it. You want to stick with it because it's got to be something that you like.
Yeah.
Well, when do y'all start back racing? I know you said you got one race
March.
Season.
We usually March here at 81 is usually the first race of the year around this whole area. The first track to actually open up around this area, so we usually get a lot of cars showing up, a lot of sprint cars for the first race of the year. I think we had like 30 cars this year showing up for it. They usually pay. It was like $5,000 to win. And I heard this year that they're going to try to up it to $7,500 to win the show. So it'll probably get a lot more cars coming out here.
Yeah, that'll bring in a lot more cars, a lot more drivers. They want to get in on that money, especially if they've been laying up all winter. That's itching to race.
Yeah, I say usually you get some good drivers like Swindell. Well, he got hurt now, but he usually comes out to that first race. Lasowski always comes out here. Wayne Johnson, and you get Jack Over and Tony Bruce, and you get a lot of heavy hitters. Danny Wood comes out here a lot. So,
well,
that first race, you get some good drivers coming out here.
It's good to run with those heavy hitters and everything, though, because you can kind of gauge yourself against them to see where you stack up. A lot of people, well, not a lot, but some drivers I know, they don't want to run against somebody they know is better than them and might beat them. They just, it's an ego thing with them, and I'm always like, if you beat the best, that kind of makes you the best. That's kind of like how I think. I'd rather race against those, be on my game, keep me on my edge, and it's just going to make me faster if I'm racing with them. And racing with those guys too, you can race a lot closer. And, you can pull slide jobs, race a lot, because they're not really like a squirrel that's going to get out of control and maybe touch tires. You can actually race really close together with those kind of drivers, and it's a lot of fun when you actually do it. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more fun when you can race with professionals, and you don't have to have that in the back of your mind to try to keep yourself away from the car beside you.
Yeah.
And plus, you run, good drivers like that. You learn something every now and then. You'll pick up something that'll help you down the line.
Yeah.
So that's always been my feeling. I wanted to go race the best that was around.
Yeah, so that's how I like. I like to run with the best. Because when I do beat them, then I know I beat the best.
What is your what moment sticks out in your mind through your racing career? What's your greatest moment, so to speak?
Probably was that Donnie Schatz one there out in Vegas. Was one of them. And then I did make a Knoxville Nationals one year. And actually, remember when they were doing the King of the Hill deal at Oskaloosa?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember reading about that.
Yeah, 2005, we actually won that King of the Hill deal. And that was a good, and I actually made the Nationals that year, too. So 2005 was a really good Knoxville Nationals year for me. And then just, what sticks out is just racing with the Outlaws. Racing so many different tracks across the United States. I got to race Gold Cup, got to race Charlotte. I got to race Eldora. I did win Eldora, an all-star race in Eldora. That was probably one that sticks out. It was the last year that Earl Bates owned the track, and the last show of the year we won that all-star event at Eldora.
What's it like running up there at Eldora? Is it really that much difference than anywhere else?
Well, the closer you are to the wall, the less it hurts.
Yeah.
Like you can like that. You'll be the fast guys. You'll be hitting the wall 3 or 4 times. A race just to be on the fast line. Just be pushing it so close to the edge that the dirt piles up on the wall. You're pretty much running on the wall the whole race, and that's just the fastest way around there. And it's fun. I haven't done it in a while. It's been since 2007 since I ran. Well, no, 2008 since I ran Eldora. I like to do it again here before, in a few years. So it sticks out. Just traveling around the United States. Going to all the different racetracks. We raced up in Canada, up in Edmonton. That was fun, new experience. So there's just so many different racetracks that I almost forgot about until I actually think about the tracks, so.
Yeah, that's about the only drawback to being here in the South is that we just don't get much sprint car racing down here. We get a few shows every year, but nothing like y'all get out in the Midwest and everything. And
yeah.
They're having
we did race one track down in Georgia, right just north of Atlanta. There's a track up there I remember racing at. And then I can't really remember the name. And I guess there isn't really much in South Carolina or North Carolina besides Charlotte.
Not really. But we get some every now and then. My producer, Mr. CJ Sports, has hooked us up with some press passes to go up to Charlotte next month, to the dirt track up there across from the Speedway, and watch the World Outlaws show up there, the late models and the sprinters. So I've raced that show probably 6 times, 7 times. Wow. It's a pretty big show, isn't it? They draw a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I said it's a pretty big show, isn't it? They draw a lot of cars.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, a lot of sprint cars, a lot of Ohio cars come down there and race, plus all the Outlaw cars. And, you'll get some good Pennsylvania cars coming down there, too. And then you got all the late model guys and then the modified guys, or the super modifieds, whatever they're called, I think. But yeah, it's a good turnout.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll tell you that.
I say it's a good experience if you haven't been to it. So.
Yeah, I've never been over there, so I'm really kind of looking forward to it. See what it's like. Get a different look at different types of racing, and see if I can figure out what's going on. I've been asphalt all my life, and I've just now started getting involved in dirt and learning about it and everything. And the more I learn, the more I watch, the more I like it. So.
Oh yeah, it's fun. The facilities is awesome out there too. Pretty much the only thing dirt is the racetrack. So. Yeah, they built a pretty high class place out there. I tell you. Mm-hmm. I imagine the campgrounds around the track and stuff will be just packed full of people. So it'll be a show, no doubt. Yeah. There's a mobile home park right there by the racetrack, and I used to live there when I was working for Hendrick Motorsports. And on the weekends that they were racing on the Speedway, man, I'd have about 5,000 neighbors. People roaming all around and everything, and everybody wants to use my bathroom. That was the worst. I had to sit out on the porch because if I sat in the living room, I had somebody knock on the door, and I'd have to get up and tell them no, sit down and get back up. And Yeah, those fans
it
are
was
crazy.
an experience, but you just had to kind of adapt to it.
Yeah. I'll say the campground experience is something to experience too at a NASCAR race, because those fans go crazy.
Yeah,
they know how fun.
Race fans are a whole different breed, but God love them, I tell you.
Right.
Well, Jeremy, let the people know how they can follow you and keep up with you on social media.
Yeah, pretty much. I tried the Twitter thing for a little bit. I don't really do much of that, but really it's just I go on my Facebook. I think you just look up my name, Jeremy Campbell, under the Facebook, and it should pull me right up. It's all open to the public and everything. So, and I do have an actual fan page too. My friends is maxed out on my actual personal page, but usually my personal page and my fan page have the same information on it. I use it all as just kind of tell my life and always update with my racing and everything. So just go on Facebook, and that's probably the best way to follow me.
Well, I'll be there looking for you. It's good meeting you, Jeremy, and I really enjoyed talking with you. Good luck with the race next weekend. Hope your whole season's good next year. Stay in touch. Keep posting things on your Facebook.
Always do. So, thanks for having me on the show. I always like to get myself out there anyway. If there's any car shows or whatever, we always have to try to put the race car in it just to kind of get out there and sell T-shirts and do all that. And I do have a website too, jeremycampbell.net, and there's some T-shirts on there too if you're in the hoodies for the wintertime if you want to buy some T-shirts and hoodies. So, but you can get that off of my Facebook page and my fan page and that stuff too. So
yeah, I might have to look at a T-shirt or a hoodie.
There you go.
Do I get the brother discount?
So let me know. So.
Oh man, well Jeremy, once again, man, thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed talking with you. And
no problem.
I'll definitely keep up with you on Facebook and everything, and if I get out that way, I'll look you up, and if you get over this way, send me a message, man, and I'll hook up with you.
All right, well, cool. Yeah, for sure. So.
All right, bud, thanks again for coming on, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, see you.
Yeah, bye.
Pretty interesting guy, huh, CJ?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Definitely, I learned a lot. I was definitely sitting here enjoying the conversation. The only question went in my mind the whole time he was on, and he's still listening. So hopefully he hears this part before he hangs up. And I didn't want to ask because it was not really race related, as he's from Michigan. So I was wanting to know if he was a Spartans or Wolverine fan. Me being a Buckeye fan, those are kind of our arch rivals at this point. So I was wanting to poke a jab at that, but I wanted to make sure this show stayed race related. So I decided to stay out of that part of the conversation. So
yeah, but those rivalries are kind of intense up there.
Oh yes. Especially since Michigan has found their way this year, and they actually look really good and can be a serious threat against the Buckeyes' run of repeat as national champions. So I definitely wanted to poke a little fun. If it had been the other show and it was an all-sports show, I definitely would have took that different angle and definitely would have had my fun with it. But like I said, I didn't want to get off subject or out of sports, so I kind of just bit my tongue on it.
Well, that'll be a question we'll have to ask him later. I definitely want to get him back on it sometime in the future.
Yes, most definitely.
I see the phone's ringing. So let me go ahead and bring our next guest out, and we'll talk to him. He's another sprint car driver. We got the sprint cars covered tonight, folks. And this gentleman is, as they tell me, he's experienced, which is another way of saying he's old. That's what they tell me. I've got a lot of experience, and that translates into I got a lot of gray hair. But let's go ahead and bring Marcus out. People say hello to Our sprint car driver next, Marcus Huffer. Marcus, how you doing tonight, bud?
Great, Steve. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm finer than hen's teeth. It's one of them nights.
Yeah.
How's your racing going so far?
Well, actually, I ended up taking this year off. And I really appreciate someone saying I'm experienced. I'm 37 years old. I definitely have the gray hair. But I've only been involved with sprint cars for about 6 years now. But this year, because of finances, what we did is we ended up taking our engine and dropping it into a friend's car, and then he ran the Sprints on Dirt series for us. I didn't even realize this till tonight listening to Jeremy Campbell, but we're both out of the same neck of woods. Whereas he lives in Kansas now, I live in I live in Michigan. So and we race the Sprints on Dirt series, which it sounds like that's where he got his feet wet.
Oh, another Michigan guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you got it, TJ.
Yeah.
Are you a Wolverine or a Spartans fan?
Yeah, TJ, I was just listening to you talk about that. Actually, I graduated from Michigan State, so I've always been a Spartan fan. But then my brother graduated from U of M. So because I graduated about 15 years ago. So over the last 5 years since he's graduated from U of M, I've transitioned into a Wolverine. But growing up, my parents are from Ohio, so they told me, they're huge Buckeye fans like you. There are two things I learned. Two things that my parents instilled in me, and my apologies if I'm stepping on any toes, but they said never drive a Ford and never go to U of M. So
that team up north is what we call that. One quick question. So you're a Spartans fan, and I ranted about this the other night. How upset, being a Spartan fan, are you that you guys lost a couple spots in the ranking, even though you guys won?
Well, they didn't play all that good. And I'm such a diehard race fan that watching other sports, I'll do it if it's on, and I happened to be at my parents' house this past weekend, so I got to watch both the U of M game and the MSU game. But as much as MSU was predicted to beat Purdue, I definitely understand why they dropped down a couple points. I was more or less anticipating, or actually I should say my stepfather said that they would probably, be ranked 10th or worse, with the, even though they won, playing against an unrated team, he said that they should have done a heck of a lot better than they did. So, and I really wish I understood the whole college rating thing, but I don't at all. But I'm really excited about Jim Harbaugh joining the Wolverines. So that's where my heart is right now.
Yeah, I'm not so excited about that because that team's looking awful strong all of a sudden. And I wish I understood the college poll system as well, because I'm still, for the life of me, don't understand how TCU is back up at number 2. But anyway, that's a whole other story and a conversation within itself.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, it's funny. You can win a game and lose points, or even lose a game against a top-rated team and gain, go ahead in the ranking. So
yeah,
it's nothing like racing in any way, shape, or form. So.
Oh man, what got you started in racing, Marcus? How old were you when you first got started in racing?
Well, I'm 37, and this is my 6th year being involved, so I was 31. What got me started is my father is a diehard sprint car fanatic.
Wow.
And he grew up about an hour away from Eldora, and every weekend his grandparents, so it would be my great-grandparents, took him to Eldora Speedway. In fact, he retired from the Air Force, and he always makes the comment that he was 18 years old before he even knew what a stock car was. Just because growing up around Eldora, sprint car racing, was all that he was ever exposed to. But so I sat in the stands my whole life, and a few years ago, I had a very well-paying job, and I had a budget. I thought, you know what, I'm tired of sitting in the stands and wondering what it's like. So I went ahead and purchased a car and all the equipment and went racing.
And you started right out in sprint cars?
Started right out in sprint cars. I had basically the job I had at the time, like I said, it was pretty well paying. And so I had about a $20,000 budget. And sprint cars, for me and my family, sprint car racing, dirt wing sprint car racing has been it. You know, we've never really followed pavement racing or wingless racing. And don't get me wrong, they're definitely interesting, but it's always been dirt wing sprint car racing. But I had a $20,000 budget, and I thought, you know what, I really want to drive a sprint car. So I hopped on Racing Junk, and I started, pricing things out. And I thought at first, $20,000 would get me, a four-cylinder car, and realized that, that I could definitely afford one of those. So then I started looking into like modified, late models, and so forth, and I ended up finding this really good deal where I picked up my first car with the engine, trailer, a quad, enclosed trailer, and a dually, all for $15,000. So, I went ahead and yeah, I know. I went ahead and picked that up, and the next year I went racing. So, and it's been nothing but fun since then. So, I really wish that I had the even a fraction of the resume that Jeremy Campbell has. Because I've more or less been, just a local guy. And I definitely don't have, the seat time that he's had, but, it's definitely been a thrill, and I'm telling you, there's nothing like racing, and I've never sat behind the wheel of anything else, but I definitely know there's nothing like sprint car racing. I mean, being out there with 19 other guys, all open wheel, full throttle, sliding through the corners, I mean, it's just exhilarating.
Yeah, Jeremy's 32, and you started at 31, so there's a bit of a difference there. He's had a lot more years racing than you have, so that's how he's got his resume built up, but I'm sure you'll get yours built up too, one at a time.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's something, there's a few lessons that my dad's, instilled in me, and, even though I'm 37 years old, I still listen to him, everything that comes out of his mouth. But, like going out there to pack in the track, seat time is seat time, whether or not you're going full throttle or you're just out there, putzing around, packing in the track, it's all about having your butt in that seat, is what he says.
Exactly. That was one of the things I used to tell the guys that drove for me, go out there and run 3 or 4 practice laps at a real slow speed and see how much you have to turn the steering wheel to go through the corner. And I said, when you're running full speed, you won't have to turn the steering wheel anymore because the arc of the corner is not going to change. Nothing's going to change. So if you're having to steer more or less, then that's where your problem is. And you know what you need to dial back into is what you ran, the line you were running when you were slow. But from what I understand, dirt cars, y'all don't get a whole lot of practice. It's pretty much pack the track and let's get at it.
No, you're absolutely right. Typically hot laps, depending on where you go, is anywhere between 2 to 4 laps. So you've got 2 to 4 laps under power, to figure out, how well you set up the car or, how bad you missed it. So, unfortunately around here, qualifying, doesn't happen as much as I'd like to see it happen, because that would give you just more opportunity or more seat time to, get the feel of the car before you, before you start your heat races.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the reasons why. So I've raced in my 6 years. I raced 2 full seasons, 3 partial seasons, and then, like I said, this year we took our engine and we dropped it out in someone else's car. But I noticed, when I was very new into this, well, I'm still new, but when I was a lot newer into this, being part of a traveling series was really hard. I mean, 3/8 miles in the state of Michigan and the surrounding areas, for the most part, I've been told they're pretty much banked the same, and you carry the same speeds. But what we were really struggling with is, we would have, I'd probably start to figure out the car the late part of the feature, which is obviously way too late in the night to figure out how you want to race. And instead of having something to build on for next week, we'd be at a completely different event at a completely different track. So back in 2013, I ran an entire season just at one track, which is Butler in Quincy, Michigan, and ended up having a really good year. It was really nice, and that's a track where you only get those 2 hot laps to to dial the car in. But for the most part, week after week after week, the track stays the same. So we were able to build a pretty solid foundation. So I could really make the most of those 2 laps. We weren't going out there just completely blind.
Well, yeah, I'm a lot more asphalt than I am dirt, and that was one thing that made it a little bit easier on asphalt racing. Is every track you went to, they had a track tire where everybody had the same compound tire and everything. And dirt guys, man, they got to have an extra trailer just to haul all the tires they've got. How do you come to the judgment as to what tire you need? Is it basically just from what you've run before and what you've got in your notes, or is it something you can figure out in the few hot laps you get?
For the most part, it's something that you figure out. I've only owned new tires on the front. So on the rear, the left rear and the right rear, I've only ran used tires. And so these are tires that some of the bigger guys, with the bigger budgets, they would run until they didn't like it, and then we'd go ahead and purchase it off them. Or actually half the time, when they left at the end of the night, they'd just leave them there in the pits, and we'd snag them up and run them the next. But for me, it was always about how much tread you have on the tire, as well as going for stagger. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the name Darren Long at all. He had been racing sprint cars for a really long time. His nephew Derek Long gave me a cheat sheet, and he's the crew chief for Max Stambaugh, an NRA guy. Anyway, he gave me a cheat sheet, and so what we would do is, we would have that base setup that we'd go to, and we would just follow his notes as far as changing staggers. For example, at the beginning of the night, we'd start with like 13.5 inches of stagger for hot laps, drop down to 12 for the heat race, and then drop down to 8 to 10 inches of stagger, in the rear for the feature.
That just kind of boggles my mind. I was a tire engineer at Hendrick Motorsports, and that was all I worked on was the tires. And if we ran 1 inch of stagger, that was a lot of stagger. And y'all run 10, 12 inches of stagger all the time. And that for me, it's just kind of hard for me to wrap my head around that. But if that's what works,
me too. Me too, Steve, and I can't imagine what it's like for an asphalt guy. Because I went from knowing nothing, into walking into this. So, I've been learning over the last few years. But for you, I mean, like you said, 1 inch is a stagger, and I definitely understand that it boggles your mind with the going up to 14 inches of stagger. I think is the most I've ever ran. But not only do you play with stagger, but you also play with the spacing. When the track is wet and tacky, you'll have that right rear pushed out to about 18.5 inches, and that left rear sucked into about 13.5. And then as the track slips off, you bring the right rear in up to about 17 inches of the middle of the tire, and then push that left rear out to about 14.5 inches. So not only are you dealing with stagger, but you got that wheel spacing, and I know in asphalt you guys deal with shocks, and I don't know that you guys have the torsion bars, similar to what we have, but you got torsion bars that you worry about, the different gears you run in dirts. It's something that I've never done, but a lot of the big dogs around us, what they'll do is they'll change because we got quick change rear ends. They'll change their rear end, their gears. For hot laps they'll run this set, and then for heat race they'll run this set, and then for the feature they'll run a third set. Or if you have a B name, you'll run a different set too. So for us, it's always been we'll even though we own like 8 sets of gears, we typically stick to about 2 or 3 of them for the entire season, and we'll run one set for the majority of the races because most of them are 3 8-mile tracks around here.
How much does the track change from when you get there till, say, the middle of the feature? Does the track, does the surface change a lot and the amount of grip and everything?
Oh, tremendously. When the car's set up right and the track is tacky, I've never done this, but I've had the sensation to. But going full throttle around the track, you almost feel like you can let go of the steering wheel, and the car's going to take itself around there. For the most part, yeah, it's kind of scary to think about. But I mean, there's been times where I've loosened my hands on the steering wheel to where I'm not I don't have that death grip on it, and then the steering wheel could just easily slide through my fingers, and the car just goes where it wants and how it wants. And it feels like it's on rails. So that's typically how it is for hot laps, and for the most part for your heat race. Now for the feature, the car and the track, really, well, for the most part, the track slicks off. We'll take a lot of rubber, and my track knowledge is very, very minimal at best. But I know during the feature time, especially halfway through the feature, the car really, it's super loose, and it just wants to get out from under you. And I know a lot of that has to do with, like when we start a feature, we'll have 25 gallons in the tank. And, halfway through, you're probably around 10, 12 gallons. Well, with the fuel cell at the rear end of the car, that changes, that does something to the setup of the car. And as you burn that fuel off, it makes the car looser, as well as the track really slickens off too. Features are something that I've struggled with. And I've throughout my career, I think I've got 4 top 4s and probably about 10 top 5s, and for the most part, all my other finishes are right around top 10s. But I've never excelled at features like I want to, and like my dad always tells me, it's feature that pays you for the night, not the hot laps or the heat race, but for me that's the most fun, and the features when my heart's pounding and I'm in the car driving as hard as I can, and I realize that I'm not breathing, because I'm trying to hold the car under me, so I've got to, I'm out there telling myself, okay, you got to breathe.
Yeah, you definitely need to breathe. That's pretty interesting. See, I just learned something there. In an asphalt car and a stock car, as you burn off fuel, the car gets tighter because you're transferring weight from rear percentage to front percentage, and the higher your front percentage of weight is, the better it sticks to front tires. So, that's something else I didn't know that I'll know now. That's pretty interesting. That's one of the reasons I like to do this show and talk to you guys, is so I can learn as I go without having to look in a book or anything like that. But that's really cool. That's really interesting. I'll have to write that down.
Yeah.
You talk about the track changing and everything, an asphalt track. usually when the sun goes down, the asphalt cools off and the track tightens up some. So especially after you've run a couple of races at a track like that, you'll know, how much the track changes and everything and what to do. But I tell you, dirt racing just baffles me. There's a whole lot more to it than 5 years ago than I thought was to it. And it's really interesting to me to be able to talk to somebody like you that knows something about it and can pass stuff on to me. I really appreciate that. How's your home life?
Home life is good.
Home life with you guys. Anybody else in your family race, or is it just you?
Nope, just me. My entire family went from sitting in the stands to me hopping in the car and us hanging out in the pits. So, I'm more or less, the pace setter of the family. And I really want to do this until I can put my children in the car. My oldest daughter, she's 11. Granted, over the last couple of years, she's lost interest in racing instead of gained it. But my son and my youngest daughter, they seem to be very active. So I'm and wanting to participate. So I'm wanting to do this until I can put one of my kids in the car.
Yeah, that would be cool too. Pass it on down to the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the same token, I think it's going to be pretty nerve-wracking. A good friend of mine and one of my childhood heroes, Mark Aldridge, who's been racing sprint cars for 35 years. He's the person that we teamed up with this year, and like I said, we put our engine in his car, and I did all the weekly maintenance on the car. And I think there were sometimes this year that I was more nervous with him being out on the car or being out there than if I had been, because when he's out there, I'm thinking, okay, did I tighten this bolt, and just thinking of all the things that could go wrong. For the most part, thankfully they didn't, but over the last year we did have a few hiccups that, and the thing about sprint car racing, well, all racing, but the wrong thing go wrong at the wrong time, if that makes sense, could kill you.
Yep.
If not make you a paraplegic. So, I don't know that I'm going to be able to mentally handle, my kids racing, but it's something I definitely want to do.
Yeah, I think I'd be the same way, and I think most every parent would be that way. They just, no matter how good they're running, you realize that something could go wrong and they could possibly get hurt. And I'm sure that's at the back of your mind, but I guess you just kind of block it out and concentrate more on how they're doing and if there's anything you can do to help.
Oh, absolutely. And just making sure that you've invested, all that you can into safety. Especially, something like the Hans device. Thankfully I got into sprint car racing right around the time that, the Hans was really popular. And, I've flipped and destroyed 3 cars, all at the same track. But, thankfully I've walked away, completely unscathed, just because of the safety equipment that I had in the car.
Yeah, if I tore up 3 cars at one track, the last time I walked away, I would just keep on walking. I would be looking for somewhere else to run.
Well, the funny thing, Steve, is though that I've only flipped 3 times, and they've all been at that track. But altogether, I've probably wrecked about 15 different cars at that track. So I was just talking about flipping, but. Well, this place is called Crystal Motor Speedway in Crystal, or by Carson City, Michigan. And this track is so tacky and so racy, and it's my arch nemesis. But yeah, every time I go out there, I think I've raced there 20 times, and I've actually loaded the car in the trailer, maybe 4 or 5. So, but yeah, my wife doesn't like me going there, so. I think it's something when I am back on the wheel, it is probably something that we'll find something else to do that weekend.
Does your wife and children go to the races with you?
Oh, absolutely. Thankfully, my wife is a huge supporter of mine. And for us, it's all about family. Every weekend it's my father down to my children. So every weekend you've got 3 generations, and we've got a stacker trailer. And when I purchased this thing, one of the first things I did was put 2 swings inside the trailer. That way my kids have something to keep them entertained, in between races. So.
I got to ask you, what's your wife like at the track? Is she one of those that's got her hands over the face, peeking through the cracks in her fingers? Or is she one of those that if somebody runs you a little rough, she'll be down there in their pits giving them a piece of her mind?
Yeah. Oh, she's definitely the latter. And I know I could never hear her while I was in the car, but there's sometimes watching videos while I'm on the track, I don't know how I don't hear her. Because she's just yelling and screaming. And Steve, I've got such support. It's unbelievable. Like my dad. Even when that first year or two that I was out there putzing around the track, you think I was winning races against Steve Kinzer and Donnie Schatz. The way I'd come off the track and just how elated he would be with how well he thought I did, and I was always frustrated, but. I always had him root me on, and then my wife as well.
Well, that works out good. It's good that, it's good to have your family involved. That's kind of the best way to be. My dad and I owned a late model stock car team, and it was. The good thing about it was my dad and I never really got along when I was growing up. I was the black sheep of the family, to say the least, but I got to work with him for about 12 years, and it turned out to be the best experience of my life. I really had a good time working with him. So I'm definitely one of those that's all for getting family involved and everything, and that's the good thing about weekly short track shows and stuff. It's a good place to take your family. They usually have alcohol and non-alcohol grandstands, so your kids aren't sitting around with a bunch of drunks. They're over in the other grandstands. But it's, to use an old cliche, it's good, clean fun for the kids and for the parents. So. More power to the short tracks. That's where my passion is, really. That's the kind of racing I love.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know if this is how it is everywhere. I can only assume it is. But like when we first got into racing, and even now, everyone in the pits, no matter what it is we need, whenever we need it, everyone's always there to lend a hand.
Yep.
And that definitely carries up to the stands as well. So it is good, and it's good to hear that you and your dad were able to have that connection to racing as well.
Yeah, definitely so. And a lot of people don't really understand that, how you can have a problem or something can break on your car, and guys from the other teams will come help you with it, and they'll actually help you outrun them. It's kind of like everybody's friends until you strap in the car, and then you're competitors, and as soon as you get back out, you're friends again. But that's one of the great things about racing and getting to work with my dad. It was pretty interesting, to say the least. We had totally different ideas on how to race, and he made money at it, and I wanted to get everything we could buy to win races. So a lot of times we'd argue at the track, and you'd never know we were father and son. You'd think we were the worst enemies walking the earth, but just the way we were, and I didn't have a problem with it. I really enjoyed it. Kind of miss him, to tell you the truth. While we got a couple of minutes here, give a shout out to anybody you want to recognize, sponsors, family, your kids, whoever.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I definitely want to thank my my father. You know, he's been the one behind all this, as well as my stepfather. He's always there every weekend. But for the last couple of years, there's been three main people that have, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be racing. The first one would be Barry Miles Marlowe of Specialty Fuels and Logistics. He's always been there to help us out. And then Craig Rutan with Rutan Racing Engines. For a I don't know what to call it other than we'll say a ramen noodle budget, which is what we have. Cause my dad says, we go racing every week, and then or every weekend, and then eat ramen noodles for the rest of the week, and during the off season. But Craig Rutan with Rutan Racing Engines just builds us these incredible engines, especially for 360s. And I know that the track has a lot to do with how a 410 and a 360 could match up to one another, but time after time, he's able to give us engines that run up front consistently. Whether it's a small quarter mile track or even an engine blowing half mile track. The engines they're fast and they've got just incredible longevity. And I really appreciate that, as well as Mark Aldrich, who I mentioned earlier. He's with Aldrich Racing. This past year he had a car and no engine, and we had an engine and no car, and instead of all of us, his entire family, my entire family, sitting at home, we decided to team up, and we're able to go out and have some fun this past year.
Well, that's cool. That's a good way to go. You mentioned Specialty Fuels, and that got me thinking. Do they have, in sprint cars, are you restricted as to what kind of fuel you can use, or can you mix your own?
Well, I know that, we run methanol, and like the Sprints on Dirt series, which we, in my 6 years, we ran with, I want to say 4 out of those 6 years. They don't allow any additives. But for the most part, you either buy your methanol at the track, or you've got someone like Barry with Specialty Fuels and Logistics who is there to at a great price. He drops it off right at the door. The door of the shop, or in my case our house. I'm able to fill up the fuel jugs, load them into the hauler, and then go racing. So, but sorry, I don't know if I answered your question, but I'm pretty sure that they don't allow additives, and it's something that I've never had my fuel tested. And I know the first couple of years that I was racing, I was putting in some kind of lubricant, and I believe I got away from that because I was told that we weren't allowed to add anything.
I remember when we first got the Exxon sponsorship at Hendrick, and 55-gallon drums of all grades of chemicals would come into that shop, and they'd send this stuff called propylene dioxide that would actually add oxygen to the fuel, which if you're running a restrictor plate race, that helps a bunch. The more oxygen you can get in, the more power, the more fuel you can burn, and the more horsepower you can make. And there was a couple of chemicals they sent us to soak tires in that, come to find out later, that stuff's cancerous. And we were, I was doing tires with no gloves on, no mask or anything, just like I normally did. And now I've been, the last few years, I've been kind of wondering if I'm going to grow a second head or something after being exposed to all that stuff.
Wow.
But, learned something else. I didn't know what the fuel situation was with sprint cars and stuff. So, like I said, I'm learning something new every day. And I appreciate you pointing some of this stuff out to me.
Oh, no problem. And it's my understanding that that methanol may not be the only fuel that you can run. I mean, I've heard of, I don't know how true this is, but I've heard, through the grapevine that, people have gone to a junkyard and pulled an engine out of a, S10 or something like that, dropped it in their sprint car and gone racing. Obviously, that wasn't set up to run methanol. So I'm sure there is drivers.
Yeah.
I haven't come across any that run gasoline or, some kind of racing fuel.
Well, that's cool. Now you got me curious. I'm going to have to look into this a little bit more and see what's going on, see what I can learn. Let everybody know how they can follow you on social media to keep up with how you're doing and everything.
Well, we have a Facebook page, Huffer Racing. This past year we haven't posted much to it because, everything that happened for our team, we posted on Aldridge Racing, with Mark and his family spearheading that. But hopefully this next year, we'll be posting a lot more on Huffer Racing on Facebook.
Yeah, that's cool. Your season's pretty much over for this year, isn't it? Are you going to run your own car next year?
Well, yeah, our season, I think our last race was September 5th. So the only thing we have left is our season banquet with the Strengths on Dirt Series, and we ended up finishing 6th in points with them, which we're pretty happy about because there were a few races that we missed just because of logistics. For whatever reason, they'd set up some races that were, there were, I think, at least 2 weekends where, it would have been 512 miles round trip from my house to the Friday race, the Saturday race, back to my house. And, our hauler only gets 6 miles per gallon, so we didn't make them. So, to end up 6th place, we're very pleased and very happy about. And I'm very proud of Mark for, racing the wheels off the car like he did. For next year, for me, I was kind of hoping that this season we were gonna make some money by doing things a little bit differently, but it unfortunately put us further behind. So I think I'm probably going to be in the same predicament next year. And I've already had, several guys come up to me and say, hey, if things don't work out with you and Mark, or if you guys, go your different ways, we'd like to team up with you. So I'll probably end up doing that. The biggest reason is Mark's a 410 driver, and this, to my knowledge, in his 35 years of racing, this was his first year in the 360, or his first full-time year in the 360. He had driven for me a couple times, or more than a couple times last year, but like half the season for me last year, but ran the full season in the 360. And I think he's ready to get back to the 410 racing and get out there and, go back and race with the World of Outlaws and the All-Stars. So he wants to go back to where all the horsepower is. So I'll probably teaming up with someone else and doing something similar to what we did this year, and hopefully put ourselves in a position where, we won't lose as much as we had this year. So, hopefully not in 2016, but 2017, I can finally put a car back together and get back behind the wheel.
Well, good luck with that. And, hope you can find sponsorship. If anybody's listening, hook up with Marcus. Help the man out, give him some sponsorship, and I'm sure he'll do your company proud. He'll represent you very well. Marcus, I really appreciate you coming on, man. It's really good talking to you. And like I said, I've learned a couple of things from you. I do appreciate that. And stay in touch on Facebook. You're in my group, NASCAR and Other Racing, so send me a message every now and then. Let me know what's going on, and I'll be checking your Facebook and stuff and look and see how you're doing.
Well, and thank you, Steve. And I really appreciate the opportunity. This is the first interview I've ever had, outside of being at the track. So I really appreciate this opportunity. And truth be told, your Facebook pages are my only link to NASCAR. Unfortunately, with my satellite package, I don't have access to NASCAR, and so I don't know if you ever pay attention to all the likes, but 9 out of 10 times, if you post something, I'm one of the guys that likes what you post on there, because I read everything you guys put, and like I said, you yourself are the main reason that I'm as knowledgeable as I am about what's even happening in NASCAR right now.
Well, I appreciate that, and your likes and stuff is what I first noticed about you, because your name kept coming up, and you had Sprint Car in your profile picture, so that got me interested in it. At your page, and decided, this guy's probably going to be somebody I'd like to talk to. So it definitely helps, and I'm glad you're a part of the group, and chime in on anything you see on there that you can give us some more information on, like you have tonight. Like I said, I love to learn about racing, and I try to learn something new every day.
Oh, absolutely, and I'll definitely stay in touch. So, again, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much for coming on, Marcus, and good luck next year. I know you said you were looking to make some money at it. You and every other racer out there. It's not exactly.
Oh, I know.
It's very few people get rich racing.
Oh, I know, but it's one of those things. We'd be content breaking even. My dad always says, and I'm sure this is said, a million times throughout the country, but the best way to make $1 million in racing is to start with $10 million. So.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the way I was. When my dad and I were racing, we didn't run one track. We ran pretty much all over the Southeast, but we'd look and see how much it paid to start, in case that was all we did was just start and park, and where we had to finish to pay the tire bill. The tire bill was the biggest expense we got, so as long as we could pay the tire bill and we had enough gas to get home, well, bud, we'd go racing.
Yep, and that's the same. That's the same situation that we're in. So, yeah, but it's exciting, and it adds a different challenge and different aspects to racing. So.
Yeah, my guys that helped me, they would they'd come into the shop Monday evening, and the first thing Joel, my ex-brother-in-law, would do would be to walk out to the dually, turn the accessory switch on, and see if the radio was on or not. And if the radio wasn't on, he knew I had drove all the way home thinking about that race. And he said if he cut it on and the radio was on, he knew I was in a good mood and everything coming home. So that's just kind of the way it is. That's just part of racing,
Absolutely. That's pretty neat that happened.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, Marcus, one more time, thanks for coming on, and stay in touch with us, bud, and definitely want to know how things go next year for you.
Absolutely. Again, thanks very much, and I hope you guys have a great night.
You too, bud. Enjoy talking with you.
All right, thanks. You too. Bye.
Well, CJ, I don't know about you, but I've learned quite a bit tonight from both of those drivers.
Oh, yes. Most definitely. Very educational tonight and very interesting.
Yeah, definitely, and that's, pretty much what we try to do with this show is get these guys that are local short track racers that race every week, and invite them, talk to them, pick their brain a little bit, and find out what we can. And that's that's the great thing to me about this show is I get to talk to these guys every week.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've been to Victory Lane at Daytona and a couple of other big tracks, and yeah, it was nice, but I'd rather go to a local track and race any day. Just show up, practice, qualify, race, load up, go home. That to me is the kind of racing I want to do, and that's the kind of racing I really like. Promote yourself a little bit, CJ, and tell people how they can keep up with you and what you've got going on as far as other shows and stuff.
You guys can check me out Monday through Wednesday at 9 p.m. for the 110 Nation Sports Show. Also, you can catch Steve Billmeyer and myself 7 o'clock Monday nights for Rubbin' Is Racing. Make sure you guys check me out on Twitter at CJSports1. Follow us, the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. You can check out our company site, www.the110nation.com. You can also check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com.
Definitely so. In our show that he mentioned, Rubbin' Is Racing on Monday night, this show tonight is geared toward local short track drivers and stuff like that. And Monday night, we do NASCAR. We talk about the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series and what's happened over the weekend and rumors that we've heard and what we expect to happen the next weekend. So we pretty much kind of talk about all kinds of racing. You just got to tune in whatever night floats your boat, so to speak. That's something we hadn't got into yet. It's drag boat racing, but I've been around some of that too. I don't think it's very well known, but Rick Hendrick, before he got into stock car racing, he was big into drag boat racing, and at one time he had the world's fastest propeller-driven boat. And so I've been around a little bit of boat racing. CJ, we're going to have to get into that. That's a whole other deal there.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, I'll tell you how to keep up with me. A slow car will do it because I don't move very fast anymore. But if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Big Sweat, the NASCAR Heartbreaker and Home Wrecker. I don't have a lot going on Twitter. I mostly just post ads for the shows and for the group and the occasional joke, so I'll keep you entertained if you follow me there. But the easiest way to keep up with me is join my Facebook group, NASCAR and Other Racing. Both Jeremy Campbell and Marcus Huffer, they both are members of our group. That's how I got to know them and everything, is from seeing them post in our group. And we talk about, it says NASCAR in the title, but it also says Other Racing, and we do cover all types of racing from Formula One and NHRA to Indy cars, sprint cars, dirt and asphalt, late models, and modifieds. We've got people in the group that are into every different kind of racing, and we all kind of get together and talk about it. So come join the group, enjoy yourself, and you'll find out it's mostly intelligent discussions on racing. That's all we do. We don't bash drivers or stuff like that. We talk about racing and talk about it hard. I haven't got a lineup for next week yet. Still trying to put that together, but I think I'm going to be able to get a guy I talked to today that's going to be running a big money show somewhere. I can't remember, and I can't find out where I've got it written down. But anyway, he's going to be at the track on Thursday, and I'm going to try to set it up so we can talk to him while he's at the track, get a couple of live trackside reports from him, and, you know, that'll give people an idea of what it's like if you've never been to the racetrack before, what goes on and what they're concentrating on and everything. So check us out next week. It'll be a good show, I guarantee it. And I do thank you, each and every one, for listening tonight. We really appreciate that, and that helps our ratings, which helps keep me on the air. So keep listening. And that's about it for tonight. We'll talk to you.
Hey, Steve, before you jump out, we need to do one more shout out before we're done for the night. We need to shout out this. We need to shout out the Snafu Seasoning.
There you go. Yeah, definitely. If you've never heard of it before, Snafu Seasoning, SNAFU, is made by a good friend of mine, Mr. Jimmy Haywood, down in South Carolina, and this stuff is good. You can put it on any kind of meat. I gave some to one of the group administrators. She's putting it on popcorn. I mean, it's good on everything. It's only available online, but, you know, you can find it there. Or I'll tell you what I do. If you're on the show or if you even called into the show, I'll send you a bottle of it, let you try it out and tell your friends about it and everything. But Snafu Seasoning, Jimmy, I really appreciate your help, bud, with all this. And y'all need to check that out. It's really worth it. Like I said, it's good on everything, and the best thing I like about it is it's only got 6 or 7 ingredients in it that, you know, and all of them you can pronounce. There's no chemicals or anything like that in it. So, Snafu Seasoning, check it out. All right, well, CJ, let's get out of here.
Yes, sir.
And folks, thank you once more for tuning in, and we'll be back 9 o'clock next Thursday night, or check us out 7 o'clock on Monday nights if you want to hear about NASCAR racing, because we'll be talking about racing on both nights. Thank you again, and good night, people.
Right now at Kohl's, buy more, save more. Take an extra 15% off. Spend $100 or more and take an extra 20% off. Go to Kohls.com to download your savings pass. Then stock up with 40 to 50% off sweaters and fleece for the family, 40 to 50% off Carter's Fall playwear, and 50 to 60% off pillows, blankets, and throws. Plus, everyone gets $10 Kohl's cash for every $50 spent. Right now at Kohl's. Select styles, some exclusions apply. See store or Kohls.com for details.